again. So, just to do something slightly different than grab bags and anything dealing with comic books, the floppy comic books, the monthly issues, I decided to go on Google and look up the most popular superheroes. I looked for top 10, but they spit out a list of 24 of the most popular superheroes. And I scoured my shelves behind me to see if I can find a collected edition on that particular superhero. So I printed it, I wrote down the list, I have the list, I pulled the books, and they might even be full runs, so there might be multiple volumes. Okay, so let's start off with number 24 and work our way to the top of the list. Now, your miles may vary. You might pick a different... if you did a video like this, you'd pick completely different books than me. You might pick the same books as me. Nobody's inherently wrong here. This is just stuff I would recommend for people wanting to read a character. And I don't care about continuity as much as other people. So, I haven't really read Spider-Man since One More Day. I read off and on. I'm a lax Spider-Man reader. Every once in a while, they hook me with something that's cool, and I'm okay with that, but most of my Spider-Man stuff is pretty old school. Alright, let's start with the first on number 24 on my list, and again, I could probably look up this list a couple weeks from now, and it would be completely different. But number 24 on the list is Mr. Fantastic. So this is a weird thing, because Mr. Fantastic, as far as I'm aware, has not always carried a title by himself. The Thing, I believe, has carried more titles by himself than Mr. Fantastic. So, if I say Mr. Fantastic, I usually mean the Fantastic Four, but I could pick a more Mr. Fantastic-centric Fantastic Four. So, for Mr. Fantastic, I picked the Fantastic Four Full Circle. This one is a collaboration with Abrams Comic Arts and Marvel. So it's not completely a Marvel run, but it features Marvel characters. It's pretty much a Marvel book. Now, Full Circle, again, features the works of Alex Ross. There's a good sampling of his art style. Very realistic style. Usually I would recommend anything with Alex Ross in it. I would read, to preface this, I would read Stan Lee, Jack Kirby era book, just that one issue called This Man, This Monster. That would probably be your introduction to the storyline. That would help you understand what the story is. I've heard that you should read This Man, This Monster first. Yes, do that. It's only one issue from the Silver Age. It's usually collected, and it's been collected several times. But recommend that. You don't have to. And just know this is an older, wiser Fantastic Four team. They're well used to their powers and will use their powers in different ways than normal Fantastic, like the Fantastic Four you might see in the movies and in the older comic books. So, Fantastic Four Full Circle. Next up on the list, they're singling out just one hero from a team, or one hero who is known as a character, but next up is Hal Jordan, which would be Green Lantern. He's the first Silver Age Green Lantern. He is the Green Lantern of Sector 2814. For that, I'm going to pick this one. It's actually Green Lantern Hal Jordan. This one collects, I think it's called Emerald Dawn, and it pretty much retells his origin. I believe this was written, I think, in the 90s. It has newer updated art, newer updated stories, introduces characters like Sinestro, The art looks kind of like this. It's pretty basic comic book art. Let me see if I can flip to some. Yeah. Okay. So, and it also has the reason I wanted to get this collection was it had an updated kind of falling out between Sinestro and the Green Lantern Corps, and it's kind of funny because, oh, it's kind of interesting because you start to see Sinestro as someone who has difficulties with disorder. He didn't want his planet to fall into disorder, even a little. The reason he took over was because he didn't want the mess that comes with having people be independent. So he became very restrictive of the people of Korgar. Okay, here's another one that's just out of nowhere. I don't know why Google spit this one out. It's Jean Grey. Jean Grey, one of the X-Men. It's a team book, and they single out Jean Grey. So I'm like, half the time I'm like, Jean Grey? I can't think of anything with Jean Grey. But I found one. And the funny thing about my books is you're going to find a bunch of different publisher, like, formats for it. This one is a weirder one. This is actually more of a pocket book. It's Jean Grey, the Dark Phoenix. So this is going to be the whole Dark Phoenix saga. The Dark Phoenix saga. Semantics yeah, spoilers and semantics and retcons. You can argue over if that's really Jean Grey or if it's actually the Phoenix itself. But I'm going to count it. I'm going to say Dark Phoenix. Alright. Harder books to do are characters that I don't really collect a lot. So, next up is The Flash. And it's like, well, Wally West, Barry Allen, Jay Garrick. When it comes to The Flash, I picked just this one. And it's The Flash, the greatest stories ever told. So you got The Flash. This pretty much takes a smattering of different Flash storylines. I believe it has The Flash of Two Worlds, which actually sets up DC's multiverse. There's stuff about Gorilla City in here. There's one about the Fiddler. Alright. Oh. I have this one bookmarked. I think I don't know why I have it bookmarked. Okay. Yeah. But, yeah, I would do this. And DC's The Greatest Stories Ever Told line, well, I'd have one for every character, and all of them are pretty good. So that was my go-to for Flash. Because, again, I don't collect the Flash a lot. I do have Flashes, Another character out of nowhere, due to popularity, Hawkeye. Hawkeye has not really... He's a support Avenger most of the time. I don't know if he's ever really carried a title. He doesn't carry a title with the frequency of Spider-Man or Wolverine or even Iron Man. So I did the thing everyone would have expected. I'm going to pick Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon. This is pretty good. The artwork is pretty good. Introduces Kate Bishop as Hawkeye and her and Hawkeye teaming up. I think this is kind of close to the Disney Plus run of Hawkeye. The Disney Plus show, I think, follows this one a little. So My Life as a Weapon is probably the Hawkeye I would recommend. Okay, number 19 on our list is Silver Surfer. And again, I'm not going with continuity or like timelines, like, oh, this is the jumping on point. This is just, if you want to sit down and read a book about a character, and you just don't care about timelines or continuity. So I might be throwing you into the deep end of the swimming pool when it comes to some of these characters. I picked this one. This is Silver Surfer Black. Size comparison. This is like a, what is it called? I forget what they call them when they're this size. Yeah. So this book is significantly larger than most books. Oh, I believe it's called a Galleria size book or something like that. Marquee size book. I can't remember what they're called. But this is a really, really trippy, interesting Silver Surfer book. I think it goes along with King in Black, like the most recent Venom stuff. It has stuff to do with most recent Venom stuff. So that's the Silver Surfer I would pick for you. Now here's a callback, because Hal Jordan was number 23 and Green Lantern is number 18. So I could have picked Hal Jordan again. I tried not to pick Hal Jordan again. Hal Jordan is kind of, he's a character in the first part of this book, but then it introduces another Green Lantern. I'm going to pick Green Lantern, Emerald Twilight, and New Dawn. The Emerald Twilight part is Hal Jordan. The Emerald Dawn part is Kyle Rayner. It introduces Kyle Rayner, introduces, pretty much it's the, I think both parts of this are controversial, kind of. They're kind of a controversial choice, because if you're a Hal Jordan fan, this is kind of the storyline where they make Hal Jordan not a good guy. And if you're a Kyle Rayner fan, this is the storyline where a lot of people criticize the killing off of minor female characters to enhance the hero. So that storyline, I kind of like that. I kind of like a take on when a superhero goes bad, like Injustice or Green Lantern, Emerald Twilight. When you take an established superhero and you kind of make him not a good guy, because then you get to see that superhero behaving in a way that's completely different, and you see just how powerful they are, because with heroism there's usually restraint, whereas if you're a bad guy you don't have the restraint because you don't have the moral ramifications of being a hero. Alright. Next up is Shazam. Now, I could have done the Jeff John run of Shazam, and that would have been okay, but I feel like that version of Shazam is kind of, everybody knows it. If you watch the movie, you know it. So instead of that, I picked Jeff Smith's run on Shazam, where I believe he's the guy who did Bone, the graphic novel Bone. It has a very cartoony style, but I find it interesting. It's cute. It's almost an all ages comic, and they did do a couple spin-offs of it. I don't believe the original writer came back, but the Billy Batson and the Magic of Shazam series spun off from this book. So I threw all of them in. So Billy Batson and the Magic of Shazam is my Shazam pick. Here's another one. Kind of like The Flash, but even worse because it's the Martian Manhunter. I do not have a lot of Martian Manhunter. I had to pick a team book that he actually features in to actually cover the Martian Manhunter part. Because I picked Cosmic Odyssey. I picked it because Martian Manhunter features in this story. He's kind of one of the heroes selected to protect the universe. And he's paired with, believe he's paired with Green Lantern, and they're there to stop cosmic catastrophe. But yeah, Martian Manhunter is in this book. I might need to go back and try to find a book that's exclusively Martian Manhunter. But again, Martian Manhunter, I don't have a lot or any Martian Manhunter on the shelves. Okay, next up, they picked Black Widow. So they picked Black Widow. Google selected Black Widow, so I answered back with Black Widow, the Marvel Knights Black Widow imprint. This one has Natasha and I think her name's Bellanova, the blonde Black Widow. It's pretty much introduces the character that was her sister in the Black Widow movie. Okay, next up is Carol Danvers. She's Captain Marvel. Nowadays she's Captain Marvel. She was also Miss Marvel. I could have picked when she became Captain Marvel for the storyline for this list, but I went a different direction. I picked Captain Marvel, the Miss Marvel years. This is probably my preference in terms of Captain Marvel, because she was trying. I feel like this version of Captain Marvel is when she's kind of made it. She's kind of made it to the top. This is her. The Miss Marvel years is when she's trying to get to the top. When she's trying to, when she's learning all the traits that would allow her to become the confident Captain Marvel we know today. But I prefer the Miss Marvel years because she's still making mistakes. She's still grappling with things. She's more relatable in this era than she is now. She's powerful now. I think she's more grounded and more likable and more human as Miss Marvel in the Miss Marvel years. But neither run is inherently bad or better than the other, but I went with the Miss Marvel years. And again, like I said before, it varies. You pick a different character, and you pick different books for different characters. Everyone would. Okay. Next up is Aquaman. I like that. You get a character that was being made fun of in media like 10 years ago, and now he's on the list because he's popular. Because I think people underestimate Aquaman. I think he gets underestimated a lot in both story and in real world. I kind of cheated a bit. I picked Aquaman, celebration of 75 years. He's actually older than that now. This book came out several years ago, so he's probably closer to 80 years now. This book actually features the death of a prince storyline. I think it features how he lost his hand. Because during the 90s, Aquaman had a hook hand. I think this actually features the story of how he lost his hand. Oh yeah, well there's him with there's him with the hook hand. Oh yeah, there it is. That's an interesting cover. Oh yeah, there's the cover. Aquaman losing his hand. Oh, this is why this channel is going to be no kid. This is why this is an adult channel. Because that comic. All right, we got Aquaman. We're going straight into. He was going to make the list because he always does. I have no ill will against this character. as a character. People would, they hear me talk about it, you'd think I don't like the character, but I do. I I like the character. I think the character is awesome. I just don't know if he's. I guess his first successful run, where it was just his solo series, would probably be on the list too. But I picked. I picked. This is Deadpool. This is the entire Daniel Way run of Deadpool. It's a good run. I mean, I don't know. It feels like sometimes with Deadpool, and it's no shot against Deadpool. Sometimes I feel like he doesn't have like you think characters like Batman. He has that Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns. He has Batman Year One. He has 3 or 4 things tied to him that where people say that is the Batman run. Or Superman, where it's like, oh, there's Red Sun, there's Man of Steel by Burns. There's man, I got a lot of them. There's several really good the Superman Birthright, Superman, A Man for All Seasons. You pick. I don't know if Deadpool's had that yet. He probably will. I don't know. There's just I don't know if there's like if you went into a comic book shop and said, "Hey, what's the most seminal Batman run?" People would tell you one thing or another. You turn around and say, "Well, what's the most seminal Deadpool run?" I don't know if people would give you an answer. Daniel Way's run is pretty good. The Marvel Now run's pretty good. His first solo series pretty good. His first appearance is when he showed up. And again, I don't want to criticize Deadpool. I think he's a great character because he's got where he is by being a character that is likable. But Deadpool is kind of a weird thing. Again, this run is. I would say this is probably one of the best Deadpool runs. Because it's just and I get Deadpool's fun. It probably if you read nothing but serious superheroes being serious, Deadpool's good for a kind of a palate cleanser because he's fun. Deadpool represents the fun side of the fun. Don't think too much about it side of comics, which is cool. So I don't want to criticize Deadpool. I just don't think he's had that run where you go into a comic book store and like, all right, I want to read Deadpool. What Deadpool should I read? And someone will probably say, just read what is current. But I think Daniel Way's run of Deadpool is probably pretty good. It introduces evil Deadpool. It introduces a lot of things. Introduces his stint with trying to get on the X-Men. It's kind of the thing that the movies kind of get wrong. And Deadpool always wants to be in the X-Men, but sometimes the X-Men don't want him because he's Deadpool. Alright. Alright, next up on our list is Daredevil. So, I got several Daredevil runs I was thinking about here, where I was like, okay, let's talk Daredevil. All right, well, let's what Daredevil? Well, here's one for you. I think statistically, Daredevil had the most amount of success per writer. I don't think there's a writer who has come in and completely wrecked the character. Depends on who you ask, I suppose, but most people universally think Deadpool's writers are usually pretty good. Did I say Deadpool again? Or did I say Daredevil? I hope I said Daredevil. But Daredevil's usually statistically pretty good. Now, before I reveal the book, you can think, all right, which writer did he pick? Did he pick Mark Waid, Miller, what's the other one? Stan Lee. Um, well, to the surprise of no one, because I feel that this writer probably has written the most impactful Deadpool stories. Oh, there was Brian Michael Bendis. He was one of them. That's like when I was struggling to think of off the top of my head people who have written Daredevil. All right, I picked uh, Frank Miller's Daredevil Born Again. I think this is a pretty decent storyline for Daredevil. It has a lot of. I just think it's a pretty cool run. Now, um, yeah, I think it's worth reading because um, it's a story where Daredevil pretty much suffers one of his most crushing defeats as Daredevil. One of his enemies finds out something about him by some means, and it kind of turns him up, it turns it upside down, and you're wondering, okay, well, how's Daredevil going to deal with this? And can he actually rebuild himself better than he was when the world came crashing down on him? Can he build back better? Can he be the inspirational Daredevil? All right. Now the next one is Thor. When I think Thor, I only ever really think of one run of Thor where I'm like, okay, this is the like I think this is the Thor. This is the best version of Thor. And it's the entirety of the Walter Simonson run of Thor. I think this is the one that introduces the Throg, the Frog of Thunder. You get, oh yeah, there you go. There's the Throg, the Frog of Thunder. You get so many elements that made it into the Thor movies are in this 5 volume set. And again, you could probably find all these books in different formats, but the Walter Simonson run of Thor is probably, I think it's the best Thor. Very few probably stack up to that. Okay, next up is Black Panther. If I were to pick Black Panthers, like one book to represent Black Panther, I would pick this one. Black Panther, Who is the Black Panther? It's basically tells a really cool Black Panther story that goes over who the character is, what he does, what he fights for. Gives gives a greater view of Wakanda and his place in Wakanda. And at the end of the book, you also get his first appearance printed in the back. So this book pretty much has everything. You got Black Panther, you got a story about Black Panther. I'd say the best Black Panther book. Okay. Now Wolverine is kind of interesting because I could have gone 3 different ways with Wolverine or more. I mean, because I could have picked X-23 when she became Wolverine. I could have picked his origin as a person, like because they actually do a origin of James Howlett, who is now Wolverine, and kind of takes away some of the mythical qualities of Wolverine because now you know exactly where he came from. or could have picked his first solo run, which was Chris Claremont. Was it Chris? I think it was Chris Claremont and Frank Miller. I could have went with that one. Then that one kind of covers what he does in Japan. I went with Weapon X. This is the introduction to him getting his adamantium claws, because he wasn't always made out of metal. He didn't always have a metal skeleton. This is how he got it. The art is really kind of cool. The story's kind of tragic yet intriguing. It kind of both dehumanizes him, yet also builds up his character as something more. And it kind of goes over how bad people can be when they feel that they're making progress, when you have no moral code dictating what science can do and how far you can push the line. And why we should value humanity sometimes over human achievement. Sometimes over human achievement. Okay. Next one is the Hulk. Again, I could have picked a lot of Hulks. I have a preference for the Red Hulk, the first appearance Red Hulk. As a character, I like Red Hulk. I could have picked that. I could have picked Planet Hulk. I could have picked World War Hulk. I could have picked first appearance of Hulk. I could have picked several other Hulk runs. But the Hulk run I picked is a little bit newer than that. I picked 4 volumes. These are the paperback omnibus of Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk. So I picked Immortal Hulk because I like Immortal Hulk. I think near the end it was a little... I think it started strong. And, it was okay near the end, but I really liked the first couple volumes of Immortal Hulk. I think Immortal Hulk it's probably one of the newer ones I've read. I don't really care for... When they told me that after Immortal Hulk they were going to turn Hulk into a kind of spaceship, I was like, oh, I don't care if people think it's good. I don't want it. I don't want to. I got stuff to do. Okay. We're nearing the end. It looks like we're one more and we're in the top 5. Alright, we'll do number 6. Wonder Woman. So I picked George Perez's run of Wonder Woman. I got a 4-volume set here. One of them being a hardcover with a DVD inside. I don't know if the DVD is still in there. Oh, yep, the DVDs are still in there. I don't watch them. I just read them. So, I just collected it for the book because I wanted George Perez run on Wonder Woman. So, that's Wonder Woman. George Perez run. I think it's the origin of Wonder Woman I wanted. So, I do a thing where if it's an origin I want and there's a retcon, I acknowledge the origin I want. George Perez's run on Wonder Woman is the origin I choose to think of when I read Wonder Woman. I like this Wonder Woman origin better than I like other Wonder Woman books. I think it's the best Wonder Woman. Okay. Next up is Iron Man. Like many other ones, I could have picked anything from... I could have picked any Iron Man story. I could have picked Demon in a Bottle. I could have picked Armor Wars. I could have picked Superior Iron Man. I could have picked... I could have picked a lot of different Iron Men. So I wanted one that was more cutting edge, like an Iron Man that was more cutting edge, where it's like, oh, he's dealing with cutting edge technology. This is what we think of Iron Man, and you know, so nothing like from Stan Lee era, although that's okay. The Stan Lee era of Iron Man is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I picked Warren Ellis's Extremis run of Iron Man. This is basically the Iron Man where this is the story of Iron Man where he goes up against a bad guy who's just a regular guy. He basically is a guy who became a super soldier and he badly defeats Iron Man. And then Iron Man has to choose to make a choice about how to fight this guy. So I think this one's a little bit newer. I think people would probably be more intrigued with it. Just know that Iron Man in the comic books and Iron Man in the movies is slightly different. Iron Man in the movies is fun. Robert Downey Jr. is a fun person. I admire his story, and I think he embodies Iron Man in a way, and he tells the story of Iron Man in a way that is awesome. So, but this isn't a fun Iron Man. This isn't Robert Downey Jr.-esque. It's an Iron Man who's serious, who's trying to save the world, and he's not, cracking jokes or, he's not overly funny. He's more straightforward than that, and that's usually how Iron Man is in the comics. I think they might have made him more funny, just more fun, to kind of compensate for Robert, to kind of bring him up in humor to Robert Downey Jr. levels. But generally, this is a Iron Man who's more business. He's all about business. Okay, so next up we have, we broke the top 5. Now we're going on to our number 4 pick. We have Captain America. This one's going to look really, really it's going to look pretty funny. Because this is the Brubaker run of Captain America. And it's funny because I have this one, which is a $5 edition of Captain America. They used to sell these in Walmart, and they were basically they were racks and racks of these. I would consider them a trade paperback, but they're kind of slightly flimsier than a trade paperback. So I got the first part of Captain America Winter Soldier, and you can probably buy this as just a solid, both books together, but I got the first part of it in this little flimsy, almost paperback, and then I got the last part of it in this hardcover. So, sitting by each other on the shelf, they look really mismatched. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like I have the mentality of any way you can get it, just do it. You don't need to follow rules of, oh, this looks good on my shelf. Because I think my shelves look fine just by themselves without this half-hearted attempt to make everything look uniform. Okay, number 3. This guy should have been number 1. But number 3 is Batman. I'll pick a Batman. Alright, again, like I said when I was talking about Deadpool, I could have picked several different choices for Batman. I could have picked Year One. I could have picked the start of Scott Snyder's run. I could have picked The Dark Knight Strikes Again. Is it The Dark Knight Strikes? The Dark Knight Returns. Yes, I had to read the spine on it because I get confused because I think it's The Dark Knight Strikes Again is the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns. Dark Knight Returns is usually everybody loves it. Dark Knight Strikes Again is not that well loved by the community. Doesn't really matter because I didn't pick that one. I picked Batman Long Halloween. Batman Long Halloween has a lot of his villains in it, has a good mystery, has a good twist. If you have not read Batman Long Halloween, I invite you to do so because that story, there's a twist in there that you will probably not see coming. It's very twisty. Very twisty indeed. And yeah, you can only read it for the first time once. So enjoy the ride the first time you read Long Halloween. Now bear in mind, you're like, oh, that's a pretty thick book. I'm like, nah, you'll enjoy the ride though. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy the ride. You'll enjoy the pencils. You'll enjoy the inks. You'll enjoy the story at the end. You'll enjoy the, all the parts of this because it's a mystery. And it's Batman doing mystery at his best. And it just has the best cast. You've got all his rogues in there. You got Joker. You got Two-Face. You got an origin for Two-Face that's more modern and nice. And I think I was going to say, I think Mr. Freeze is in here. Maybe not Mr. Freeze. Poison Ivy's in here. The Riddler's in here. Holiday. No, Calendar Man is in here. Scarecrow's in here. Mad Hatter's in here. Oh, let me see. I could have swore Catwoman's in here. I'm trying to see if, for some reason, I think this is a Mandela effect thing. I'm starting to think, oh, no, it wasn't. For some reason, I thought Mr. Freeze is in here, and I'm like, why do I think Mr. Freeze is in here? Yeah, Solomon Grundy is in there. There's a large difference between Solomon Grundy and Mr. Freeze, though. Apparently, I haven't read Long Halloween more recently than that. Okay, going into this, number 2 is Spider-Man. Now, like every other comic book character I've done so far, Spider-Man has like 5 or 6 books I could recommend, and I bet you won't pick the one. Take time to pause the video and think about it. If you've read Spider-Man and you're like, okay, he's going to pick a Spider-Man title, and you're probably thinking, he's going to pick this one, or he's going to pick this one. I bet the one I picked is one you have not even heard of or have not even thought of. So, I picked a Spider-Man title that I think would be great for people who want to get into reading Spider-Man, and it's out of left field. You will not pick. I have 20 viewers, and I bet none of you will pick. You won't pick this one. There is no way. So I'll give you like a few seconds to guess which Spider-Man. If you've never read Spider-Man before, I guess you don't get a pick because you want to know either way. But the Spider-Man I'm going to show you is not, I bet, there's no way. Alright, the Spider-Man I picked, and this ain't a joke, this isn't like, oh yeah, I picked this one. Psych, I picked another one. No, this is straight up. I picked Spider-Man Adventures. Marvel Adventures Spider-Man. The reason I picked this one is because it does a really fine job modernizing the character. All the characters. The art style is fun. The character designs are fun. They're, again, updated. They're cool. It does the Spider-Man origin over again, like every Spider-Man origin does. It introduces all his rogues over again. It's just a more streamlined Spider-Man origin, which again, there's nothing wrong with the origin of Spider-Man. There is this panel here. One of my favorite Spider-Man moments comes from this story, from this book. And this is kind of why I like this story. I always think of this panel. Peter is playing it with his web shooters. And he's like, oh, I invented this webbing. Look at me, I invented this webbing. I'm cool. Look how cool I am. He looks at his web shooters and he whips himself right in the face. He's looking at his web shooters like, hey, look at how cool they are. And then all of a sudden, he makes the rookie mistake of webbing himself. It amuses me. It amuses me that Spider-Man would web himself. Wow, 45 minutes. Okay. Well, it has been a long ride. Okay. Number 1 on the list. Anyone want to guess who the number 1 superhero on this list that I got from Google? I didn't pick any of it. It's none other than Superman. The first superhero. The first official superhero. The one who started comic books in general in 1938. Superman. Now, I picked... this is one where I think people who know comic books, who know Superman, who know everything about Superman, if you've read comics about Superman, you will probably have guessed this, the Superman. Oh, actually, it's not even going to show the picture of. All right, this is the people will say it all the time. This is the best Superman story ever told. This is the book that embodies Superman, and it's funny because it's not even continuity. This isn't the main universe Superman doing any of this. This is just a Superman. It's a Superman story, but it's one of the most beautiful, well-written, well-drawn, enticing, just one of the best embodiments of Superman and what Superman stands for. And the writer kind of captures, he did an enormously good job making a character who is too powerful, but making them relatable. And this is the embodiment of Superman. When James Gunn does Superman, this is a Superman, not this exact Superman, but this is how Superman should be. Don't know if he's going to do it that way. But I went with All-Star Superman. All-Star Superman is considered the best Superman story because it has the lighthearted whimsy of the Silver Age. It has just punchy artwork, just the emotional gut-punching artwork. The characters are cool. They're quotable. This is probably the best Superman story, bar none. It encompasses everything that Superman is in a book. Because again, the challenge of writing Superman isn't that he can beat everything. Superman can beat everything. In this book, he's grappling with his own mortality, but immediate threats are easily dealt with because he's Superman. And it's just an interesting book. It's just the coolest book I've ever. It's the best Superman story. And there's this part of it where, because Superman in this book is dying. He's dying a slow death. He's going to basically cease to exist. But he wants to make the world better while he still can. He's never been more powerful but more vulnerable than when he is now. And there's this scene where he's... Oh, I'm trying to find it in here. Trying to find it. So, this is Superman, and he's pretty much at death's door. This is probably the last couple... there's a little bit of the book left, but he's pretty much aware he's going to die pretty soon. So in the background, there's playing this scene of a train that's running late because Superman had to save the train. And on this train is a guy, and he's talking to someone, and it's almost like you would almost not give his conversation over a cell phone any notice. He's just telling somebody to stay in the apartment, that he's going to be on his way. You don't know who this guy is. He's just on this train that Superman saved. And Superman just goes through all the, he's just going through his day. He's saving everyone while he can. And let me see, there's a point in this. Yeah, there's a point in the story where where Superman is, with Lois Lane, and they're just hanging out after he beats the bad guy. And then Superman, because he notices everything, he has to. He notices he's like, oh, I gotta go take care of something. But what you don't see is that there's someone who is pretty much at their wit's end, and they just want to give up. And Superman swoops in at the last moment, and he's not beating a giant robot. He's not facing down Lex Luthor. He's not facing down Doomsday. He's not fighting Bizarro for the umpteenth time. He's there just to help someone who needs it. And that's what a hero does. That's what the greatest hero does. He helps people when they're about ready to fall apart. He was there to save someone when they needed him. And he didn't need 50 kinds of vision, the ability to jump over a building, or be invincible. He didn't need that. He just needed to help someone. Because he's in a worse state than that person is, but he's willing to hug someone that needs it. And that's the emotional gut punch that this All-Star Superman provides. You get to see just a genuinely good person. You get to see a genuinely good person trying to save one person. Oh, and that's about it. I got through the list. That's 24 different superheroes. Now, you're probably wondering, what's next? Is there a list of supervillains? Oh, I just have to see about that.